Welcome to Reset Today with Stephanie J. You've just tuned in to the show that allows you to reset in any area of your life. So come on and join me. Hit that reset bell and get ready to start fresh. All right, that's my bell. What about yours? Did you hit your device? I hope you're having a good day wherever you are, whatever is going on. I started this one off with an instrumental from my son Rashawn, and it is entitled Clockwork. How many of us wish that we could set the clock back? You don't have to answer that. Anyway, his instrumentals can be found on SoundCloud under capital S, capital M, capital N, capital S. And before I get started, let me read off my list of where my podcast can be found. And I said it on a few previous episodes, but right now I am using my mobile devices, my tablet and iPhone, and I am not sitting at my desktop with the keyboard. So I do not want to keep typing this information over and over again. And so I'm letting you know verbally where you can find these episodes. A Brand New Day with Stephanie J can be heard on Anchor, Spreaker, Spotify, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Overcast, Castbox, Google, iHeartRadio, Apple, Geo7, JIOSAAVN. Reset Today with Stephanie J can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, Deezer, Geo7, Podchaser, Podcast Addict, Apple, Google, iHeart, SoundCloud, Facebook, and YouTube. And once again, I would like to say a big thank you to everyone who has a hand in this, who makes this possible, no matter how great or how small the contribution, those working behind the scenes, those who put up the finances in order to make these platforms available, and also to you, the listeners, because without you, there would be no show. And so let me give you all a round of applause. Thank you so very much. And so I am not going to be before you long. In fact, I forgot to set my iPhone on Do Not Disturb mode. And about 10 minutes ago, I got a pretty disturbing text from one of my relatives about her daughter. She went to the emergency room to get checked out today, and we were praying about the situation, and the information that came in was not good, and I ended up freezing in the middle of the recording, and then I had to start over about 3 different times, and I tried calling her back, and I got her machine, so I left a message, and I'm waiting to hear back from her. And if you would be so kind, I would ask that you would lift up the Harris family in this time, in this hour. And I do not want to, disclose any information or anything like that. I'm just finding out myself. But regardless, I know that God is able, and that pretty much ties into some of what I want to talk about. And it's 2 different subjects that I wanted to kind of blend together. And who knows, it may have to be a separate episode. But I'm going to talk a little bit about the flywheel. And those of you who do not know about cars like me, that term may catch you off guard. unless you saw the movie back in 2003 or any time since that the Kendricks brothers put out about this particular part of the car. And so, if you're a mechanic, you definitely know about it, or you should, because the mechanic the auto salesman in the movie was not familiar with the part. So, I purchased the movie just because it looked interesting. I did not know anything about it. I am familiar with the Kendricks brothers because of the movie War Room, as a lot of you may be. And so I thought it looked pretty interesting. I did not know that this was a low budget film. I did not know that it was as old as it is. I just read the description and it looked pretty fascinating. And so when I put it on, within the first 5 minutes, I was just kind of chuckling like, okay, one of these types of films. And I almost didn't give it a chance. And I'm glad that I did. I say within 15 minutes, I was already contemplating turning the movie off and watching something else, because I just did not think it would be worth the investment of time because of the way I could see it was filmed or whatever. I knew that this was an earlier low budget film. Well, I discovered after I watched the movie that the budget was $20,000 and they made like $37,000 off of it, at the box office or whatever. But I am really glad that I not only got through the movie, and because I didn't give it, in my opinion, a fair chance. I had all these ideas about it and what I thought the outcome would be like and whatnot. And so I really didn't watch it with an open heart or open mind to really receive anything out of it. So I decided to watch it again, and it gave me a better perspective of the movie. And so let me just talk about it a little bit. I don't want to talk so much about it, the plot, and give all of the details, because maybe some of you may want to go and view it since I'm talking about it. I don't know. I don't want to, spoil it, but the whole premise of it was surrounding a shady used auto salesman, and he was played by Alex Kendricks, who also wrote the story along with his brother Stephen Kendricks. And he wasn't a very nice guy. He was dishonest. He was a family man, but he wasn't. He had a wife and a child, and he just wasn't very emotionally available to his family. He was not very kind to his family. He had a few employees working with him, and he was actually teaching his salesmen dishonest practices to get these used cars sold. And so you're kind of watching the story unfold, and you can pretty much tell how it's going, from the beginning. But it does take a pretty interesting turn, I'll say, midway in the movie. And you see some little changes and things going on in his mind, and not necessarily right away, but if you really focus on like his facial expressions, and you see times where he's sitting back thinking about things, something is not really sitting right with him. And little by little, he begins to make some changes, and he begins to make some decisions in his life that actually gives him a better outcome. And that's usually what these type of faith and inspirational films do. And, we wouldn't want it to do anything different, but I will say that I was really pretty surprised about how the movie started to turn, and the changes that he made, the timing of everything. It just worked out so well. And of course, you start to see some character changes in him. Again, not instantly, not overnight, but you see the growth and the development in this character, and some of the adversity that comes along, you get to see him having to make choices about if he's going to continue on with the decisions that he made to be an upstanding guy. We'll just say he wanted to, as he said in the movie, he wanted to finish well. He was not pleased. He was not proud about the person that he had become. I guess in a sense you could say he just kind of got sick of himself, and he decided to do something about it. One of the things that helped was he was sitting in a room alone, and he was listening, flipping through the channel, and he heard a piece of a sermon that was on television. They were showing the church service, and the pastor was preaching this message. And it was a really convicting message. And you could see, at one point, I thought he was pointing the remote. I thought that he was going to turn it off. And it didn't last long, but he sat and he listened to it. And you can see internally, some things just starting, like the wheels starting to turn in his mind. And so what I did the second time that I listened to it, I actually recorded it. And it's less than 2 minutes. So I actually do want to play that little piece of a sermon. I think it is so relevant. It was back in 2003, but it is so apropos for this day and time. And it even, brought some conviction to me and made me think about my own life. And I mean, a lot of times I know this for a fact, even from people that I've dealt with, people that I have counseled, people I have spoken with, people in my life, family members, friends, people that I have watched closely and things like that. And I honestly believe sometimes people have a very difficult time for one reason or another, whatever the reason may be, looking internally or looking at themselves. But how many of you know, a lot of times it takes just that. Even to begin to change things in our lives, we have to look inside. We're always, or most people, because I look at myself. I've said that on many episodes. I go to God and I say, okay, Lord, it's me. Right now, I'm coming to you, not about this, that, this person may be doing this or that, but I want you to deal with Stephanie. Help me to get myself to the place where I need to be. Help me to examine myself. The psalmist says, search me, O Lord, see if there be any wicked way in me. I don't have a problem looking at myself. I don't have a problem with the Lord examining me, because guess what? I'd rather get it right here and now. I'd rather let him do the work now. I'd rather do the work now than to go through the motions, get through this life and stand before him and not hear the sweet words, enter ye into my rest. I don't want to hear depart from me. I don't want to hear that. And so it requires a lifetime of work. And so that's one of the things that I liked about this movie, because you got to see in so many, and even in some subtle ways, the changes that this character was going through, and how it started to impact his family and the workers and the people around him. And not everybody was happy with the changes. If you watch the movie, you will see he experienced opposition from the very salesmen that he trained, because they were not willing to go along with the changes, because it would mean that they would receive less commission. And so they really fought him on his decisions to change his business practices. And how many of you know that this is real life? It may be a script